Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to make an off-shoulder dress with elastic and inseam pockets.
If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel or you're new to this channel, please click the subscribe button and also don't forget to click the bell so you get notified of new videos. So let's get into the video.
First off, I fold my fabric into 4 because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back at the same time. So I'm going to take out 4 inches, but instead of 4 inches I'll be taking out 3.5 inches, and the half inch is going to be for seam allowance. Then I'm going to measure the rest of my arm sky, which is 8 plus extra half an inch allowance. So after that I'm going to join the points. I actually like to mark 2 points so that I end up having a straight line. So next I'm going to do is measure my shoulder measurement, and I'm going to add half an inch allowance. So on that point now I'm going to insert my bust measurement. My bust measurement divided by 4. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to be adding an extra allowance, and this time I'm going to go with 3 inches because I want my dress to be free. It is a shift dress. So I'm going to add 3 inches, and then half an inch out of it is going to be my seam allowance. Now once I'm done with that, to the shoulder measurement that I have measured previously, I'm going to add an extra 1.5 inches, actually making a total of 2 inches. So I take the entire measurement at the top, which is 8.75, and then mark it on my bust line. And once I'm done with that, I join the point so that I have a straight line for my arms curve. Then I get my French curve and then curve it out. So after that, I'm going to mark the length of my dress, taking the 3.5 inches into consideration. So I mark 2 points, like I said, as reference, so that at the end of the day I get a straight line. So once I'm done with that, I take 2 rulers because my rulers are not long enough, and I make a slanted line, sort of like I'm making an A-line dress. So once I'm done with that, at the bottom of the dress I remove 2 inches because since it's an A-line dress, I don't want the ends to now be longer than the middle. And then I get my French curve and use the straighter part of it to sort of like curve things out. And then that's what I get, and off to cutting my dress. So once I cut this out, I'm going to end up with 2 pieces, one for the front and one for the back. And since this is a shift dress, there is no need for zip. So here it is, guys, short and simple. So the next I'm going to do is my sleeve. I'm going to fold my fabric into 4 again, so I cut the 2 sleeves at the same time, mark my top line, take the 3.5 inches of my arm sky into consideration again, and I'm going to mark my full arm sky length just as I did in my previous off shoulder video. Add half an inch allowance and then join the point as well. So after that, I'm going to take off 2 inches from the top. This is such that I'll be able to get my arm sky curve, mark my sleeve curve, sorry, mark the 2 inches and then draw a straight line, get my French curve and then curve things out. So for my armhole curve, so next I'm going to do is mark the length of my sleeve inclusive of allowance. So I mark 13.5 inches inclusive of allowance because I want it to sort of be like close to my elbow. So once I'm done with that, I measure the arm sky of my dress and I have 6 inches, and I measure the arm sky of my sleeve and I have exactly 6 inches, and even after the allowance is taken off is the same. And this is very important, so you are not shortened or you have excesses. And after I'm done with that, I mark 1 inches from the bottom of my sleeve opening and then join it to my arm sky, and then I cut my sleeve pattern out. So once I'm done with that, over to pockets. So how I'm going to cut my pocket is I place my hand on the fabric. My fabric is folded into 2 and there are 2 pieces of fabric there, and I just use my chalk to trace out my hand in a straight manner, and then I cut it out, and that's my pocket. And you need to make sure when you are doing this you have enough allowance because you're going to join the sides. Yeah, you're going to join the sides so that your hand can actually still fit in at the end of the day. So once I'm done with that, I pin my pocket a piece to each side with right sides touching. I'm making sure it is slanting downwards, not upwards. And then I just want to show you the placement of my pocket, which is about 2 inches away from my hip measurement. And once I'm done with showing you that, once I'm done doing that, I pin the pocket like I said, and then off to sewing. So I'll be using a zigzag stitch for this because my fabric is fraying at the ends. And then I stitch with 0.25 inches of allowance. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. So here it is, guys, and I do the same thing for all of them. So before I sew them together, I make sure I press my fabric, press the seam around the pocket area so it lays nice and flat, and then I'm going to stitch from my arm sky, the bottom of my arm sky, to the pockets, through the pockets, and then all the way down. So I'll be stitching, like I said, the allowance I gave was half an inch allowance, and make sure you back stitch and then run your stitch straight down. When you get to the pockets, pivot your fabric around your needle, then sew through the curve of your pockets, and when you get to the other side, pivot your fabric again around your needle and then sew straight down. And it's as simple as that. Sorry, you don't actually sew straight down because I want to hem the bottom of my dress actually before joining the rest of that distance. So this is it, guys. Like I said, I just stopped somewhere, and then here is my pocket, and my hand can actually fit in. So like I said, use your hand as a guide. So now for my sleeve, I'm going to join the sides by half an inch allowance, and after I'm done with that, I turn it inside out and then pin the arm sky of the sleeve to the arm sky of my dress, and then I'm going to sew from that arm sky to the top, not all the way around this time, from the arm sky to the top. And at the end of the day, I realized that even after pinning, my fabric still matched. So I always like to pin just to make sure that everything I'm doing is right, basically. So I go back to my straight stitch, back stitch, and then sew all the way down with 0.5 inch seam allowance, and then I close with a back stitch as well. So here is my sleeve. I'm all done attaching it. I do the same for the other one. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to measure from the beginning of my sleeve to the end, and this is because I want to cut a casing for my elastic. So I measured it and I got about 27.75 inches, so that will be multiplied by 2 to get the length of my fabric for the casing plus allowance, seam allowance. Wideness is 2 inches, so I'm going to be sewing by half an inch allowance. So I place it right sides touching to my fabric, right sides of my casing to right side of my fabric, and then I'll be sewing by half an inch allowance, starting with, I didn't start from the beginning, I left a 2-inch gap at the beginning and then sewed all the way down. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason I did that is so that I'll find it easy joining the fabric at the end of the day before sealing it. So I gather the excess and then I'm going to sew it together. So this is why I left 2 inches at the beginning. Once I'm done with that, I straighten it out and then close the rest of the gap. So it's quite simple, guys, and you can actually do this in like an hour. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to fold it over and press my seam so it stays nice and flat again before finally closing the casing. So I fold the casing, making sure I go back to my straight stitch. I fold the casing by 0.25 inches and I'll be stitching by 1/8 of an inch so that I have like enough space for my elastic to go through, because I don't want it to be stuck while I'm passing it through. So I sew all the way down. I actually closed it entirely, but normally I'll advise that you leave a 2-inch space so that you have to insert your elastic. So what I did was to hem the bottom of my dress, and then I sealed the rest of the side, and I also hemmed my sleeve as well. So now over to my elastic. So what I'm going to do, since I closed it entirely, is take my seam ripper and then loosen 2-inch space at the bottom of the casing. So once I have that ready, I'm going to show you how I measure my elastic. So I take my elastic and place it around the back of my body and get to the front, making sure that it is sort of fitted and stretchy at the same time, not too loose and not too tight. And I make sure I have allowance for joining as well. So I'm going to take a safety pin and pin through the elastic, close the pin, and then insert it through the space that I have made, and then begin to push it through using my safety pin as sort of like a guide towards pulling the elastic through the hole. And then I continue to pull and pull and pull till I bring it out at the other end. And I actually pin the elastic, use my safety pin to pin the elastic in place so that it doesn't come off. And then once I'm about sewing, I remove the pin and then stitch on my seam allowance. And once I run the stitch multiple times, and then I cut off the excess. Then I'm going to pull the rest of the elastic into the casing, and then I'm going to stitch, making sure that I actually do not stitch my elastic to the fabric, so that I can be able to adjust the fabric evenly around the elastic when I'm done. And that's it, guys. This is the dress. Thank you for watching. I'm going to see you in my next video.